Is that your firing pin block lifting, or are you just happy to see me? Today, we are talking about the Beretta APX. Are you ready? Stand by. Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David and I'll be your guide in pursuit of practical pistol proficiency. On deck today we're talking about the Beretta APX, and the APX represents Beretta's foray into the replacement of the Beretta 92 for the Army and the M17 handgun program. When these suckers first hit the market, they were about $600, and while feeling every bit a $600 pistol, nobody cared. These things sat and didn't sell and didn't sell and didn't sell. Fast forward to today, where I bought this right before the election of 2020, when guns are very hard to find and prices are very high. I got this from Shields for just $370. That's right, these suckers going new are about $370, which is a heck of a bargain considering it is a duty grade pistol being sold at a consumer grade price. This is in line with what you would pay for a Canik or a Ruger, but at the same time, this was engineered for law enforcement and military type use. So the materials used are very, very robust and the design is very good. So this very well might be the best sub $400 pistol you can buy. Originally, I had reserved that title for the IWI Masada, which is very similar in characteristics to this gun, but everything's a bit more refined with the APX, as you'll see here soon. So for those of you who are new to the channel, I follow a standard format. You can skip around if you look in the description to parts of the video that interest you if you don't want to hear me talk. And those parts are going to be initial impressions, things I don't like, the frame, the slide and sights, the trigger, other controls, the shooting experience, and the aftermarket. At that point, I'll just wrap it up with some final thoughts and send you on your way. So let's get started with our initial thoughts. So when you pick this gun up in the gun store, what you're going to notice is that it initially feels like a very quality weapon. You're going to notice the finger grooves that are kind of understated on the front, but it absolutely feels like a service grade weapon, something along the lines of like a Glock or a Walther PPQ even. And if you're used to looking at other pistols, you're going to look at this and think, boy, that is an ugly gun. But the longer you kind of look at it, it kind of grows on you. It's ugly in the right kind of way, sort of like a pug dog. But there's not a lot to dislike about the pistol once you get it in your hand and get used to the fact that it is different from what you're used to seeing. So things that I don't like, because this wouldn't be a Humble Marksman review without complaining. So here we go. Number one is the aesthetics. The aesthetics have grown on me, admittedly, although I didn't like them at first. Just how the slide serrations are done is very atypical and it creates kind of an interesting look. How the front muzzle is kind of sloped back like that, but the barrel sticks out proud is kind of an interesting detail. And then it's all kind of sitting on top of this like huge rectangle on top of a very svelte and rounded grip. So it's just kind of a weird combination of like harsh lines then soft curves. But that's completely personal preference, and the more I look at this thing, honestly, the more I appreciate its appeal. Next, and probably most importantly, is that the firing pin block lifts up out of the slide. And what I mean with that is, ready? It's going to be right there. There it is. It's not just happy to see me, that is the firing pin block. This has been an issue on the 92, and it has kept the 92 from coming into the world of slide ride optics, and they chose to put this on their modern service pistol, which is strange, but they offer an optics ready variant of this pistol, so obviously they got it figured out. And wrapping up the things I don't like, and this is fairly minor, and I'll get into more of that later, is there's not a huge aftermarket support. Just go ahead, take a minute and go to your favorite holster maker and look for a holster for the Beretta APX. Couldn't find one, could you? That's the problem. Think of any other accessory and look for it for the APX. There's not a lot of aftermarket support. We'll get into more of that later. So jumping in on the frame. The frame is highly contoured in the right kind of way. And since this is a modular handgun, SIG approached changing out the grip size by changing out the whole frame. Beretta actually provides back straps. This is the large back strap that is installed on the gun now, and it increases the length of pull, which is something as a large-handed shooter I appreciate. But I'm happy to report to you small-handed people, this is the best gun I've ever handed my wife. The reach to all the controls, the trigger, everything was probably the best it's ever been when I had the small backstrap on this particular gun. So if you are a small shooter, rejoice, because this is a really solid option for you. So talking about the frame further, there are two ways the gun is held in place. The first is the geometry or the ergonomics, and that is how the shape of the pistol interfaces with the shape of your hand and how it sort of locks in place. It doesn't really matter so much about traction so much as the leverage points of your hand on the frame, and that's going to be under the trigger guard and the grip tang. And both of those points are very well contoured to get an excellent purchase on the pistol, so that even if the pistol is soaking wet, just based purely on the shape, I'm able to get great contact with the gun. The next is going to be traction. So that's where all of the meaty bits of your hand interface with the gun. So the front strap, the back strap, and the side panels are going to be where the traction starts to matter. So the front strap and back strap, it's nice to have heavy texture, but where it's really nice is on your support hand, because that's how much you can get your support hand to mitigate muzzle climb. So from a front strap and back strap perspective, the APX is great. It has pretty aggressive texturing on the front and back straps. However, the side panels, there's almost none. Considering this is a home defense or duty style pistol, it would have been nice if they could have maybe gotten a little bit more aggressive up on the side of the gun, but as it is, it's serviceable to say the least. One thing that's interesting about this gun, and if you watch a lot of my videos, you know that I don't like the stupid thumb depressions that manufacturers put like right here so that people hold guns wrong. They don't have that on this, despite being an import gun. So way to go, Beretta, figuring out a way to import guns that don't have that stupid thumb depression. Good job. The mag weld, and this is an interesting feature, you can see has sort of a male-female relationship with the base pads for the magazine. So when they go in there, you still got a ledge where you can rip the magazine out if you needed to do so. I generally don't like this because usually these types of setups have a very small mag opening and it's like threading a needle. However, this is actually pretty generous. It's pretty easy to hit the reload on this, so it actually has a very good mag weld. So as far as the frame is concerned, it's pretty squared away. So moving up to the slide is non-traditional, and I feel like the guys who designed this slide are the guys who use like copper plate Gothic bold in the emails they send around to people. It's just kind of, okay, I guess, but why? Usually on a slide, the serrations on the front and rear are milled into the slide so that they sit back recessed from the flat part of the slide. They took the opposite approach with this slide, which was to leave these kind of raised edges. But they're kind of geniuses because they work really, really good. You can get a bad grip on the gun and the cocking serrations work really well. So much so that I would say that these actually work better than any other service gun on the market. Let that sink in. It looks horrible, however, it works really, really well. And as I'm a utilitarian, the more I look at them, I actually kind of like them because they do work so well. So to me, these actually look pretty cool these days, but kind of like copper plate Gothic bold, which also kind of looks cool. Moving on to the sights are a metal 3-dot sight with a larger dot on the front sight and smaller dots on the rear sight. The air gap is okay, the precision is pretty good, you'll be able to hit just about anything you aim at, and with the 125 grain ammo I was shooting the gun with, they were hitting point of aim, point of impact, so that's really all you can ask. Now let's talk about the trigger. A lot of times when people review service guns, they're like, oh, it's got a duty, oh, it's got a combat trigger, oh, and it's just basically making an excuse for a crummy trigger that is heavy. But it's good enough to be combat accurate, whatever that means. This trigger is actually very, very good. And as far as my rating on plastic triggers are concerned, a very good striker trigger is like a Walter PPQ, Q5, Canik TP9, those type triggers. I'm gonna put this right below those. This is probably one of the better striker triggers on the market, and I say that for a number of reasons. The trigger is almost like a flat face trigger. It has a very gentle curve and it's largely flat across the face of the trigger, and it has a trigger blade safety that does not go flush. It's not as bad as a Glock, which kind of hits you in the middle of the pad of your finger, but it is worth noting that it doesn't go entirely flush. The take-up is very, very short, so that's really all you get. But then you hit a beautifully crisp, very hard wall. And then you keep loading up on pressure, keep loading up on pressure, keep loading up on pressure, and eventually at about 5 pounds, there's a slight bit of creep and it lets go. There's a very small bit of creep, but it's miles better than most of the other plastic striker guns. As far as reset is concerned, it's not the best, honestly. It's pretty short, but it's not very positive. And the reason I like a positive, like pushes the trigger finger forward type reset, is when you're shooting real fast, you can allow the trigger's reset spring to help you shoot faster by throwing your finger forward if you're trying to run it real fast. It's not bad. It's not going to cause trigger freeze or anything like that, but it would have been better if it was a little bit more positive. And going back to the frame, if you spend time figuring out which backstrap fits your hand, it becomes very easy to pull this gun with the trigger straight to the rear. And the accuracy of the barrel is so good that I think you'll be very, very accurate with this gun right out of the box, provided you take the time to tune your trigger reach. This is a very good trigger, guys. Very good. But we're not stopping there. We're going to use the most objective means of subjectively rating the trigger that we can. It is the Humble Marksman trigger rating system. And putting this on the Humble Marksman trigger rating system, right out of the box, it came away with a pretty good nice.
Nice. Nice. Nice. Nice. Nice. Nice. Nice.
Getting into the shooting experience, the APX is honestly a joy to shoot. It's pretty soft shooting, which is a cliche, but it has a very nice contour grip that fits very well in your hand. There aren't any like rubbing points or high points that push a bunch of the force in your hand at kind of a weird angle, so it's a very comfortable shooter. And for a modular gun, it actually has a pretty low bore axis. Not quite as good as a Glock, but better than the SIG P320 and I think all the other modular guns that I'm aware of, including like the Masato. But this is not bad at all. And it also has the finger grooves, which provide kind of two other little knobs that you're applying pressure on the gun with. And they're created in such a way I think most people won't mind the fact there are finger grooves on the frame. The sights are good enough. The trigger is excellent. I think most people will be shooters with this thing right out of the box. And honestly, you could use this in like a competition setting because the magwell is generous enough that it's easy to reload. It is accurate. It's easy to shoot accurately with. And the manipulations are easy due to the milling on the slide. This is actually a pretty awesome plastic gun. And getting into the aftermarket. So I already kind of teased this in the things I don't like because there is not much of an aftermarket with respect to this pistol. However, if you had to rely on third-party aftermarket, you would be sorely disappointed in this gun. However, Beretta sells directly from their website all of the accessories and paraphernalia you could want for these things. And the magazine price is actually pretty good. They range from about $21 to $27 depending on the configuration you want, which is pretty solid as far as value is concerned. Considering it's a $370 pistol, that does help with having a low magazine cost. So this is a high value gun to shoot. All right, the moment we've all been waiting for where I hit you with my final thoughts. But first, we have to discuss the sacred relationship between I, the content creator, and you, the subscriber. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that like button since you're in the area and subscribe to the channel. So I make world-class firearms content and you watch this content. As you remember those awesome sunglasses that Pizza Hut used to give away back in the 80s, you think, boy, I could get some custom glasses made, and you do, with my logo on the shades, so that everywhere you go, as long as it's daytime and sunny, people will know about the good work we do here on the channel. If you're not feeling that, and I understand, then maybe just hit the like button. That helps me the most, and subscribe to the channel to see future content. Check out the links in the description. I have a Patreon page with 3 to 5 exclusive posts per week just for Patreon for $1 a month. And if you're not already, you should consider signing up for Big Daddy Unlimited. That's basically a buyer's club for firearms stuff. So if you want access to some of the best prices around, you can join up at Big Daddy Unlimited through the link in the description and they'll get you taken care of. And with all that said, back to the show. So wrapping up, the Beretta APX is honestly awesome and I don't understand why it's $400. It's made in Italy, which makes me think it would have a higher price point. However, it was $370 during a panic time. They're not the easiest pistols to find on the shelf because they're not super popular, but I mean, there's a lot of features here for the money. It does well. Previously, the Masato was the top of the value pile as far as my mind was concerned, but this has easily taken its place. So while we all want to say that it's a good pistol for the money, I mean, this is just a flat good pistol, guys. I mean, it's got its little warts or whatever, but it does very, very well. So that's what I've got for you guys. If you're a newer shooter and you have issues shooting left, I made this video that might help you out stop shooting left. Or if you've got more time, I did this video on the thumbs forward grip for recoil management. A lot of people have found a lot of help from both those videos. So I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.